How's it going, guys? I'm Mike Dwyer from the Bunker Recordings and BetterMixes.com, and today I want to talk to you about mix templates and why you should be using one. I've heard a lot of people say that they don't like using mix templates because every mix is different, and using a template is going to make everything sound the same and reduce your creativity, so they prefer to start from scratch for every single mix. But I would argue that using a mix template allows you to be more creative in the mix. And the reason for that is that you have stuff that you use every single mix already set up and ready to go. So you're spending less time searching through plugin menus and more time on the actual creative parts of mixing. So let's take a look at a few things in my mix template real quick. So first off, you can see I have all my outputs assigned. So all my tracks are going where I want them to go. All of my drums are going to my drum bus. Then I've got most of my drums here being sent to my parallel drum bus. My bass is going to my bass. My guitars are going to the guitar bus. Vocals to vocals. I've got some effects sends set up here, ready to go, and everything is going to my mix bus. So when I'm starting a new mix, all I have to do is import my settings from this session. So then pretty much everything is going where it's supposed to go. Everything's routed. I don't have to spend a ton of time sending everything to the right places. So now let's look at some of the plugins I've imported. So we'll look at our snare top track here, just for example. So right off the bat, I have my drum leveler plugin. I use this on the majority of my mixes, so having it right there and ready to go makes it super fast and easy. Next, I have my go-to EQ. And you can see in this case, there are no EQ moves going on here. So when people say they don't like mix templates because every session's different and you wouldn't apply the same settings to every song, that's totally true. But again, here I have a blank EQ. It's just that here I don't have to go into my plugin window and go to EQ and then find FabFilter Pro Q3. It's just right there, ready to go. So I can just turn it on and start EQing and do whatever I need to do. So then I've got one of my go-to snare compressors here. In this case, it's the plus 10 decibels from Boz Digital. And it's ready to go with some of my favorite settings for snare. Now, obviously, I'll probably have to tweak this, and this compressor might not even be right for every song. So if that's the case, I can just go in here and grab something else. But the idea is I use that Boz Digital compressor on a lot of my mixes, so just having it there makes things move a lot faster. Then I've got Gatey Weighty to cut out some bleed, another blank EQ here, because sometimes I like to do a little EQ before and after compression, and a couple of clipper or limiter options. And you'll see I have send set up here already going to my snare reverbs, which already have some of my favorite settings on them. Now real quick, let's look at the toms as another example, because on this one, I already have some EQ moves going on in here. With toms, I noticed I was doing very similar EQ moves in just about every session, so I just saved that into the template, so I already have a really good starting place. Now obviously, depending on the toms, this will have to be tweaked a little bit, especially this little bump here. Depending on how high or low the tuning is on the tom, might need to move that up a little bit, and maybe this tom is already pretty bright or there's a lot of bleed, so we'll just bring that down, and maybe we don't need as big of a mid-range cut, and just like that, I'm good to go. Another good example here is on my bass channel. So I have this set up for when I get tracks to mix that did not have a bass amp recorded, or the bass amp didn't sound very good, and I just want to work with the DI. So I have 3 of my favorite amp sims set up here. So if I'm looking for more of an aggressive sound, I might turn this Dark Glass Ultra plugin on. Or if I'm going for something a little more classic, I might try the Sans amp or this STL Tonality Will Putney plugin. Has a really, really nice SVT emulation in it. And again, this isn't taking creativity out of the mix or anything. This is allowing me to be more creative. By having this right here ready to go, I can just jump right in and tweak my settings and get a really cool bass tone dialed in, as opposed to going through my plugin list, searching for this. Let's see, is it under harmonic? Nope, I don't see it there. Maybe it's under other? Nope. Okay, effect. There it is. Okay, under effect. Okay, and now let me go to amps and get the, oops, grabbed the wrong one. Hold on. Okay, now we're on the right plugin. So let me go to the SVT, and are we on the right cab? Nope. Okay, there we go. I mean, so I know that was like 20 or 30 seconds, but multiply that by the 100 times you have to do that throughout a mix. Then that's a lot of time and a lot of mental energy wasted on searching through plugin lists and doing technical stuff instead of creative stuff. By having everything preloaded and ready to go, I can skip straight to the creative part. And a couple more things to show you here. So down at the end of my mix window, I have my mix bus set up with my go-to console emulation and my go-to bus compressor, so that I can mix right into these from the start. I might have to tweak them again later, but it gives me a really solid starting point. And then here I have a whole bunch of frequently used effects for me. So for instance, these first few here are all vocal effects. So when I get to my vocal to mix, I can just grab this Vox Verb send here, which is already set up, and just adjust how much I want being sent there. And then I already have one of my favorite vocal reverbs set up. in addition to a de-esser before it and a little bit of EQ after. And again, this might not be the right reverb for this song. And if that's the case, well, I have another one of my go-to reverbs right here. And I mean, if that one's not right either, then I can go in and find exactly what I'm looking for. But if I usually use one of these two reverbs on my vocals, it makes sense to just have that set up and ready to go. Then I've got a few just kind of random reverbs here. I've got 2 different Valhalla plate settings, one a little bit shorter, one a little bit longer with a few other different settings. Just so if I'm mixing and I'm like, oh, this acoustic guitar needs some plate, all I have to do is go to sends, bus, and let's do short plate. And again, if I need to tweak that, it's all good. Just come in here. Maybe that's better, you know? It's all just about having a starting point. It's also worth mentioning that this is only one of my templates, that I have a few of them. For instance, I have another mix template for songs that I recorded, because in that case, I probably already have like 100 plugins going on all over the mix, and I've already dialed in the sounds pretty well during tracking. So instead of importing everything and getting rid of all the work I already did, that template just has all my buses in it. So it's got my effects, my drum buses, bass, guitar, my vocal bus, all of these, my mix bus, etc., but doesn't have the actual individual channels. And then I have a tracking one as well. So if you're a tracking engineer, you can make yourself one of those with your go-to setup in it, so you don't have to make the session from scratch every time. So like I said, this allows me to work a lot faster and spend a lot less time doing technical things and a lot more time on the creative aspects of the mix. And a good way to make your first template is just go to a recent session you did that you were really happy with how it turned out and use that as your starting place. Get rid of all the automation on it. Get rid of any kind of weird stuff that was super specific to that song that you're not likely to do often. And then just save that as a template. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. And be sure to head on over to bettermixes.com to get a free copy of my Ultimate EQ cheat sheet.